Okay, so let's dive in. You probably remember that early DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, they were really hitting a wall, right?
Yeah, definitely. Two big things. Participation was just, well, pretty bad. Maybe 15–25% voter turnout, sometimes less.
Right, dismal. And the other thing was the
Mm.
regulatory side, just a total legal gray area. Felt really risky.
A swamp, basically. So you had decentralized governance technically, but it was often slow, paralyzed even. And with billions in assets now governed by these things, they had to evolve.
And that's what we're seeing now, this kind of maturing. It feels like we're shifting away from these super rigid, micromanaged setups.
Exactly. Towards more adaptive, efficient structures.
So that's our mission for this deep dive,
Yeah.
figuring out DAO 2.0. What are these next-gen models looking like, and which platforms are really driving this? We're thinking Aragon, Tally, Snapshot, maybe DAOstack's influence, too.
Those are the key players, yeah. And DAO 2.0, really, it's about moving beyond just token voting. It's about full on-chain execution and, crucially, making it legally viable.
Okay, let's break that down. First up, tackling that micromanagement problem you mentioned. How are they fixing that?
The big shift, conceptually, is intent-based governance. It's fascinating, actually. Instead of everyone arguing over every tiny code change.
Which could take forever.
Right. Instead, members vote on higher-level goals or budgets. Intents, basically.
So like instead of voting on the exact code for a feature, you vote on the intent. Let's spend X amount to improve Y, like Optimism says with their governance seasons. Funding broad stuff like decentralization progress.
Precisely. It streamlines things hugely, empowers smaller groups to just get stuff done. And this actually ties into the second big issue, apathy.
Yes, the low turnout. How do you fix people just not voting? You mentioned AI.
Yeah, AI delegates are starting to emerge. Protocols like Near are experimenting with this.
Wait, AI voting? That sounds potentially tricky. Doesn't that risk just, centralizing power with whoever built the AI?
Well, the idea is they're more like co-pilots. They learn your voting preferences over time and can automate votes for you. But, and this is key with human oversight, you can always override it.
Okay, so it's about representing your stake, even if you're busy, not replacing your decision-making entirely.
Okay, got it. So that helps participation, intent helps speed. What about the legal swamp?
That's the third big piece. Legal entity wrappers becoming integrated.
Okay. Making them real-world compatible.
Exactly. And Aragon, really the veteran in this space, they pioneered this with something called BORGS.
BORGS. Okay, tell me more.
Blockchain Organized Restricted Governance. It basically lets an on-chain DAO spin up a limited liability legal wrapper for, say, a committee or its treasury without all the usual legal hoops.
That's huge, solving that regulatory risk on-chain. And Aragon's got the track record, right? Like over 10,000 DAOs launched.
Yeah, something like $35 billion in assets governed through DAOs using their framework. Think Lido, Curve.
Yeah.
Big names. Their OS X setup is super modular. Okay, so Aragon handles modularity and legal. What about Tally? You mentioned them. They seem focused on incentives.
Yeah, Tally is like the governance as a service hub. They power giants, Uniswap, Arbitrum. We're talking over $81 billion in protocol value managed through their systems.
Wow. And they're fixed for apathy.
It's clever. They introduced TLSTs, Tally Liquid Stake Tokens.
Liquid stake governance tokens. So you can stake your governance tokens, earn yield, but still vote with them.
Exactly. You get rewarded for participating financially without losing your say. It flips the incentive model. Instead of apathy being easy, participation actually pays.
That is a game changer. And speaking of lowering barriers, that brings us to Snapshot. They're pretty much ubiquitous, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Like 95% of DAOs use Snapshot. Why? Because it's gasless off-chain voting, super easy, zero cost to participate in signaling votes.
The ultimate participation engine. But there was always that gap, right? The off-chain vote happens, then someone, a multi-sig usually, has to manually execute it on-chain, trust required.
Correct. But that just changed. Snapshot X, launched on Starknet, bridges that gap.
How so?
It allows for that same gas-free voting experience, but with automatic on-chain execution of the results. No more multi-sig intermediary needed. It's trustless end-to-end now.
That's massive. Truly bridging off-chain ease with on-chain security. Okay, and we should briefly mention DAOstack. They were early pioneers, right?
Absolutely. Their influence is still felt. They came up with holographic consensus, using prediction markets to kind of surface the best proposals.
Right, using prediction markets to filter proposals. Interesting.
Yeah. And even though their core team funding dried up around 2022, Those ideas about scaling governance and reputation, they're definitely baked into some of these newer models.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway for someone listening? It sounds like DAO 2.0 is making this whole decentralized governance thing less of a clunky experiment and more practical.
Practical, powerful, and even user-friendly, potentially ready for institutional use cases, not just crypto natives.
And looking ahead, say, to 2026, what's the outlook?
Well, the sort of base case scenario is steady growth. Maybe turnout climbs to a healthier 25-35%. Collective treasuries hit maybe $50 billion. Things mature nicely.
But there's always a but, isn't there? What's the risk?
The risk is a major governance attack. We've already seen hundreds of millions lost in past exploits, like over $300. One really high-profile failure now with these bigger systems.
It could spook everyone, force a pullback.
Exactly. It could force DAOs to maybe implement stricter, more centralized controls just for security's sake, potentially rolling back some of that decentralization progress. So community vigilance is absolutely crucial.
Interesting. So the final thought is really this tension. Can DAO 2.0 maintain its smooth trajectory towards efficient decentralized power, or will the ever-present security threats force a compromise? That balance seems key for this next era.